The following program contains violence, disturbing imagery, nudity, and, oh my God, why are you even watching this? Just run away. This shit is going to give you nightmares.
And I don't want nobody, and I don't want nobody. You got that right. And I don't want nobody. I lost. Want nobody. And I don't want nobody. Damn. Never need. You got that right. And I don't want nobody. I lost. Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's. And I don't want nobody. Damn. Extra work for you. You got that right. I don't know. And I don't want nobody. Ice drop. I lost. Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's. And I don't want nobody. Damn. Extra work for you. I was dancing. I could close. And I don't want nobody. Make them ice. Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's. And I don't want nobody. Damn. Extra work for you. You got that right. Vivian. And I don't want nobody. Make them ice. Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's. And I don't want. Damn. Extra work for you. You got that right.
Ooh.
Walk into my car. But I'm basketball. Oh, young, we must run. But I'm for everybody. Oh, young, we must run. You got that right. No, I'm not that right. You got that right. No, I'm not. Oh, young, want nobody. The Peacock is proud to present music from Hawaii. Not you, fool. Other make the ice. Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's. What if I don't? Not you, fool. Damn. Extra work for you. You got that right. I can close, so want nobody. Other make them Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's ice. Just hop on my extra. Damn. Extra work for don't want. Damn. Got that right. Not you, fool. Other make them ice. Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's. What if I don't? Just hop on my Damn. Extra work for you. You got that right. I can close, so want nobody. Other make them Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if that's ice. And I don't want. What if I don't? Damn. Extra work for don't want. Damn. Got that right.
Recorded live at the Jerrad Show studios in Tampa, Florida. It's another episode of the Jerrad Show. And now, here's your host, Jerrad Suarez.
That's right. Back again for another episode of the Jerrad Show. Tuesday, November 7th, 2017. Week 2 of the everyday podcasting. I'm really digging this more than probably anybody that's listening to it. So I'm just doing this for myself. If you listen, thanks a lot for listening. Doesn't matter where you listen to it. Spreaker listeners, though, you guys are something else. Let's get going because I got a lot to talk about. Yesterday I did a show that was really early in the day, and it was because of the time change. I felt like I needed to be doing a show. It was like 11 o'clock in the fucking morning, man. It was way too early to do a podcast, and I found that out the hard way because all kinds of funny and interesting stuff came out later on in the day to talk about, and I really wanted to talk about it. I was like, damn, I wish I would have waited a little bit when I heard this news. The first thing that I'm going to talk about today is P. Diddy. P. Diddy changed his name yesterday to Brother Love, and it went everywhere. All kinds of news outlets were saying, he's Brother Love, and the internet freaked out because they're like, I guess there's a wrestler named Brother Love. I know there's Dude Love, which was one of Mick Foley's alter egos. But I think I remember somebody being Dude Love or Brother Love. And there was obviously another Brother Love out there, and the internet went crazy on P. Diddy. And this morning he had to come out and say, I learned that you shouldn't mess with the internet. And he said that he was just joking. He said that it's part of one of his alter egos. So if you want to call him Brother Love, he will respond by calling him that. But he's still Sean P. Diddy Combs. He didn't actually change his name, which I thought it was pretty funny that he had to come out this morning and say, "Look, I was just kidding," because how many times has he changed his name? When I first heard about Sean Combs, his name was Puff Daddy, and then he made a big deal about it. Stop calling me Puff Daddy. I want to be called Puffy. How is that better? How is calling somebody going from Puff Daddy to Puffy? Puffy sounds like the name of a fucking stuffed animal, like a stuffed elephant named Puffy the elephant, right? I don't know. So then he changed it to P. Diddy, which is another fun name to make fun of. I mean, P. Diddy. And then he changed it to Brother Love, and he got backlash for it. They were like, all right, now cut it the fuck out. Come on. Enough with the name changes. Your name's Sean Combs. We all know it. If you act in a movie, your credit is going to be Sean Combs. It might have the quotations around P. Diddy, but it's definitely Sean Combs on the poster. Yeah, right. When's the last time Sean Combs did a movie? That's something that I should probably look up sometime. Not now. Sometime in the future. But yesterday they also came out. Another story that I didn't get to talk about because it came out after I released the podcast was Jameis Winston for the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here in Tampa. He is out of the next couple of games with a shoulder injury. And I didn't watch Sunday's game, but apparently there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of Bucs fans pissed off. I guess Jameis Winston tapped one of the New Orleans Saints players on the head, kind of pushed his helmet with his fingers a little hard, kind of nudged him. The New Orleans Saint player turned around and one hand pushed, kind of stiff-armed, pushed Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston shouldn't even have been on the field. He was hurt. He was on the sidelines. He was telling the other player to go back to the other side of the field, and he put his hands on him, pushed him in his helmet. The New Orleans Saints player retaliated by pushing him off of him, basically saying, "What are you doing? Get back on the sidelines." And as he pushed Jameis Winston, wide receiver Mike Evans for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came in and just speared the shit out of the New Orleans Saint player and just caught him right in the back too, and knocked him pretty hard. You could see the replay of it or the highlight of it on the internet. I believe it's on YouTube. If you didn't see it or you didn't watch the game, I highly recommend checking out just to see that New Orleans player get racked, because he really just gets slammed. And so now today's news is that Mike Evans is suspended for the next game. And I think they did that just to satisfy people who saw it and were outraged, and they were like, wow, what is that? That's messed up. He needs to be punished somehow. Because I don't think the Bucs were probably like, good job, man. Knock the shit out of that guy if he touches Jameis, because they really try to protect that quarterback. But this year, the Buccaneers apparently are not doing so hot. I don't really give two fucks about the Bucs. I mean, I watched the Hard Knocks special on HBO this year, and they were great in it. But I think, any time that you're going to make a documentary about a team like that, it usually turns out pretty good, because you get to see a side of a professional athlete that you don't usually get to see otherwise. And I think that is probably why that show is so successful. And it made the Tampa Bay Bucks look like awesome people. And I was really glad to see that. And it showcasing my hometown here was really cool. But the Bucks are not doing so good. So I guess that's that. There's a lot of people that are pissed off. They want the fucking coach fired again. I mean, how many coaches are we going to go through? I think they're just trying to get back to Gruden, really. They really want John Gruden back here. A lot of the Bucks fans think that he should come back and coach. He's still got a lot of coaching left in him. And I think that would be pretty cool. I liked Chucky when he was here. I went down to the stadium both times when they beat the Eagles in 2003 to go to the Super Bowl. When they went to the Super Bowl, I went down there and welcomed the players back to their cars to the stadium. And then I went not the next week, but the week after that, to the Super Bowl party that they had here. They had a parade here, and they also did like a welcome back night when they came back. And we all went to the stadium. They let everybody into the stadium, and they did this big thing. I was on the news. Me and Captain Fear, I was screaming and doing the number one. I was on the news on Channel 10 down here, the CBS affiliate. And it was fun. And I enjoyed seeing Chucky raise the Lombardi trophy over his head. I had really good seats that night. We got there really early, and I was on the 50-yard line, like maybe 20 rows back. And it was, at one point, I was even able to get down to the wall as they were running the trophy around and get to holler at a couple of the players. Mike Allstott, the MVP of that year, was Dexter Jackson. So it would be fun to get, a fun coach who really gets into the game. I feel like this coach, everything that I've seen of him, he's got his arms folded and his glasses down on the bridge of his nose like an old grandmother. So he's not really exciting to watch. Not like Gruden and the old 2002-2003 team. That was a fun team. And if we could get some coaching here, I think it would be something a little bit more entertaining than it is now. Something that I saw that was pretty crazy was I was looking on the NASA website, and this story from 2 months ago that I didn't hear anything about this story. NASA's Hubble captures a blistering pitch black planet. It looks like sometime over the summer they found a planet that traps 94% of the starlight that comes into its atmosphere. It's called WASP-12b, so WASP 12b. It's considered a hot Jupiter, which is like, the planet is basically a gas giant, but these hot Jupiters, they orbit really close to their star. This star is called Algira, and it is, I don't even know how far away the star is from the planet Earth or from our solar system. But the crazy thing about this is that because the planet is locked in a orbit that's so close to its star, the planet doesn't spin. It's locked. So the daytime side of this planet is always facing the star, and the nighttime side of the planet is always facing away from the star. So the crazy thing about this is that it's black, and what happens is the starlight comes in from the star and it is absorbed by the hydrogen atoms on the planet that make up the atmosphere, and it travels deep, deep down into the atmosphere because it's a gas giant, remember, and it just, instead of reflecting any of that, it sucks it all up and it turns it into heat energy, and the planet gets to like 4,600 degrees Fahrenheit on the daytime side. And that is pretty crazy that you can't, it's like, it's a dark black planet. It's like asphalt, it says. It says WASP 12b is about 2 million miles away from its star and completes an orbit once a day. So yeah, that's really close for a huge planet like that. This says that the night side of the planet gets to about 2200 degrees Fahrenheit, which is cool enough for clouds to form and water vapor to form and reflect light off the dark side of the planet. But obviously it's the dark side of the planet and there's no light. So they found this planet in 2008, and recently they've been researching it and using the Hubble telescope to take pictures of it. And it is now known as a dark planet, the blistering dark planet. It says that Auriga is the name of the constellation, and that star is 1,400 light years away from us. So it is pretty far away from us. Maybe one day we'll be able to send little CubeSats or something like that over there. Speaking of NASA, NASA has invited podcasters, bloggers, different social media personalities to apply for the NASA Social coming up in December. And that will allow the attendees to be close to the rocket and access areas that are not accessible to the general public. And I have decided that I am going to apply. I'm going to try to get credentials, and I'm all good for the government background check. I've had background checks for clearance into FBI buildings for work, and never had a problem with anything in my background. I'm pretty squeaky clean. Haven't really gotten into any trouble. Never did any kind of drug trouble or any of that kind of stuff. Never really drank and drive or anything stupid like that. Or, stole from people or tried to rob people. Never did any of that stupid shit. Never got into any kind of the criminal aspect. So my background's pretty clean. So I hope my social media presence is enough to get me qualified for this gig. Because it would be pretty cool to be able to go over to the Kennedy Space Center and see some things that are not usually seen by the general public and be able to witness a rocket launch. It's SpaceX 13th launch, and let's hope it goes a little bit better than Apollo's 13th launch. Because the launch was successful, but the mission was a blunder, to say the least. Obviously, you should obviously know about the Apollo 13 mission. But that would be really cool to be able to go there and do that. I figured I would talk a little bit about a movie that I saw recently. I was a big fan of this series back a couple of years ago, and the first one scared the shit out of me. I watched it late at night and couldn't sleep until the next day. And, of course, I'm talking about the Saw franchise. I saw Jigsaw over the weekend, and I gotta say, as a Saw fan, I really enjoyed this movie. There were a couple of things that were a little crazy about it that didn't really quite line up, and which is hard because I feel like the original series were so thought out that there's things that happen in this one where you're like, really? There's no fucking way this person can get away with this, It's that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, just some of the stuff that the killings and people don't get caught. I mean, that's not how the law works. The law actually, I feel like the law catches people more times than lets them go or people get away. But besides that, it was great. It was cool seeing new traps and seeing old traps and seeing old Easter eggs and callbacks to the old movies. I'm a huge fan of all the movies, and this one is just great. I thought it was really great. I think Saw fans really wanted out of this movie something new, but something old as well. I mean, the Saw movies have 7 movies in the original series, and the problem with that is that the story gets so big, and there's so much story in the story that to do a Saw 8, I mean, it would be so heavy with lore and, previous stories, and they really liked to take things that you saw in the originals or in the previous movies and bring them up into the new movies and kind of twist it. And I really liked how they just didn't touch the old story at all. The Jigsaw killer is in this movie, but I'm not really going to tell you anything about it. You'll have to see it yourself. So that's the only part of the old films that are in this. There's none of the background story except for the Jigsaw killer himself. And a couple of the old traps show up. They make Easter eggs in the movie. They're in the background and in the foreground. You do get to focus on a couple of the traps for a little bit. Definitely a great movie. Definitely recommend it if you liked any of the other Saw movies. If you enjoyed the crazy, bloody, gory ride that those movies took you on, this is more of that, and you'll definitely dig it if you liked the original Saw movies. Moving on, I was listening to the Joe Rogan, Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Ari Shafir podcast, which is actually still live, I believe, and playing right now. I was listening to that, and Bert Kreischer is from Tampa. I've met him before. He's a really cool dude. Every time he comes to Tampa, I try to see him or check him out when he's on the radio here in Tampa. And he just completed an entire month of sobriety. A lot of people were worried about him doing that because he is such an excessive drinker, or was such an excessive drinker. And then they kicked it up with 15 hot yoga classes, including staying sober all month. And they all accomplished it. All 4 of the guys accomplished it, including Bert Kreischer. And now they're talking about Bert Kreischer says that he can run a marathon. I'm guessing because he talks to Galvin from the Mike Kelta show here in Tampa, who is a runner and was out of shape and got into shape and was able to complete a marathon. So Bert thinks that he can do a marathon, and these guys, when I stopped listening to it and had to jump on the podcast here, they were talking about Bert drinking, doing a marathon, but completely fucking drunk. I think that's a terrible idea. I think Bert is going to have problems running a marathon without training, some serious training. And all those guys seem to think that he can do it. Either they seem to think that he can do it or just really want to see him be destroyed when he can't complete it, and just his confidence levels sink and they can just laugh at him, which I think is fucked up. But I think it is kind of funny that he's so overly confident that he can do this, and they're just pushing him like, yeah, come on, there's one Friday, let's do it Friday, come on, we can do it, you'll do it. And yeah, I think he'll probably die if he tries to do that, especially if he tries to do it drunk. I mean, it's a bad idea, I think. they were talking about 11-minute miles, and he only runs on a treadmill. It's gonna be bad. Jeez. I wasn't gonna get into this next story, but I figured I'd just throw it in there. It's so disgusting. It looks like an Uber in New York City. He's driving people around in New York City and has a small tip jar on his center console. This is really ridiculous. A woman wearing no shirt, just a bra, and a golden yellow skirt took this Uber, and as she was getting out of the Uber, she grabbed money out of the guy's tip jar, and the guy had a surveillance camera. So you get to see the entire thing. This stupid woman looks right into the camera. I mean, not only does Uber have all your information and can get in contact with you and give the information to the police, they also have video of you stealing the money from the guy, and that's definitely jail time. I would absolutely, if I was that driver, I would absolutely press charges on this woman. I don't care how half naked she was. That does not entitle her to the right to take my hard-earned tip money out of my center console tip jar. This guy's an idiot. Don't they know that? Don't they know? Doesn't he know that Uber allows you to tip on the phone? You don't have to have cash there. I mean, how many people carry around cash in New York City? I guess tourists might, but everything. I mean, if you're gonna take an Uber, all your stuff is on the phone anyways. You could just tip right there on the phone. No cash. It says the police had no information on the internet or incident, and it happened sometime in August. But I guess the driver and Uber just stepped out, and I guess they're looking for this person. Are they looking for this person, or am I reading this wrong? Uber spokeswoman told the Post, "What's been shown has no place on our app, and the writer's access to the app has been removed." So she's been banned from Uber. She can't take an Uber anymore. She can take a Lyft, but she can't take an Uber. That's good for Uber. Kick that bitch out. Fuck that shit. I would press charges on her though, man. That's petty theft, isn't it? Like if you take like $5 or $6, that's a dirty bitch right there. Getting into an Uber with nothing but a bra and a skirt on. And then you're going to rob the dude and take his fucking tips? You're a dirty bitch. Final story tonight. Twitter no longer does tweets. I'm saying that officially now. There are now tweedle-deedle-deets. They are like the Rock and Robin song. Tweedle-deedle-deet, right? Tweedle-deedle-deet. It's real long now. They doubled the length. It's 280 characters, which I think that's too long. Come on. If you can't say what you want to say in 140 characters, go to Facebook, go someplace else. I mean, now we're going to have these long, giant posts on Twitter, and I don't know if I'm into that. They're already really long with the big pictures and everybody using GIFs and posting videos and all this kind of stuff. It used to not be like that. You would just be able to post links. Pictures came in later. GIFs came in later. Do you say GIFs or do you say GIFs? Comment below. If you use GIFs, give me a thumbs up. If you use GIFs, make a little heart. But what do you think about Twitter doubling the length of their posts? They're not tweets anymore, right? Let me know. Hit up the Facebook, facebook.com/Jerrad Show. And I guess if you want to leave 280 tweets or characters to tweet me, you can tweet me at Jerrad Show, Jerrad. That's the show for you and me, the Jerrad Show. Every day. I'm thinking about going 9 o'clock. It's around 9 o'clock, 9:30 you'll get a brand new episode of The Jerrad Show every day, every weekday, Monday through Friday, 9 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate every one of you guys listening and leaving comments and liking the Facebook and all that stuff. That's really cool. I appreciate it. And also, go to JerradShow.com and you can listen to all these episodes of The Jerrad Show, including the new JFK, the Jerrad and Frank cast, coming out later this month. Not really have a set date for it, but it will be coming out, and you'll see a little link at the bottom when it is live. You can go on to JerradShow.com and click away. You can get to my email there, Jerrad@JerradShow.com. Send me an email if you want to be on the Jerrad Show or use the Jerrad Show studios to record your podcast. Or just listen to the podcast there. Well, have a good night, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And I'm out.